Hi, everybody. It's Janet Eichhorst here with Jill Renee Feeler, my dear friend.
Hi,
We,
Janet.
hi, Jill. How are you today?
Doing good. I was telling you a minute ago, I'm a little tired today, but I'm good. I could do this. I'm excited to talk with you.
Yeah, we'll see if we can even tell the difference or not. We just
Right?
don't even
Yeah.
know, right?
I just know that our audience is very intuitive. So the minute I'm like, oh, they won't notice, I'm just like, Jill, come on. You know better than that. They notice everything. So I'd rather just say it and then people go, yeah, you seemed a little tired. Or they might say, God, I actually didn't notice you seemed as, like your normal self. And that's fine.
Well, it's always helpful for me just to be honest on all levels
Yes.
what's happening. So I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
We are on 36.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's gone so quick.
It really has. And I occasionally I'll pop back to some other episodes, and sometimes my phone, and when I'm driving, it's on scramble, so it'll just, pull up something new, and I listen to I don't remember what episode it was. I was like, "Oh my god, I love that, what we talked about." I don't know, it was good. Okay, so what's on your heart? We could talk about being tired, although you don't go there.
No, it's not that I don't go to being tired. You asked me why. It was kind of like a why question. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't go that way.
Yeah, yeah, sometimes that's helpful, sometimes that's not.
I'm
Um,
wondering about, okay, there's a couple ideas I have that I'll offer up as a possibility. I do feel like yeah, I'm kind of debating with myself now. Sometimes that behind the scenes look on being a practitioner can be really helpful.
mm,
Whether it's somebody that sort of aspires to be a practitioner,
mm,
utilizing their natural giftedness, whatever that is, or whether it's somebody that actually is a practitioner, meaning they professionally for pay
mm,
exchange and offer their if you will spirit-based services in the world, and it's just good to hear someone else talk about it.
mm,
Maybe it's new ideas, maybe it's commiseration.
mm.
um, I don't know. So that's a possibility. And then another possibility would be if we, and I was thinking about this, it could be fun to look at you and I just kind of go online at like a telesummit or something and see what topic they had recently and be like, okay, what would we say about that? Like, what's
Mm,
happening for the remainder of 2025? I don't know.
mm.
We could get out a prophetic kind of view of things and kind of take a shot at that. I don't know. Those are just some ideas. What about you?
Hmm. Yeah, I could, I'm pretty flexible with these things in terms of topic.
I
I
love it
mean,
when you have an opinion, though, I have to say, because you can get excited about probably anything. And that's one of
yeah.
the many reasons I love to even hang out with you.
Yeah.
Um, and when you're like, oh, there's something I want to talk about, I think,
Mm.
yeah, it is fun too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually kind of more now like, which
Hmm.
not to say topics are not now because they're always now. And so, what I was thinking about is now, like what might be helpful for people to talk about in terms of how to be now. There's so many distractions, and if you look back in our podcast, we talk a lot about that, about
Hmm.
how to really be ourselves and be our light, you know,
Right.
and I will never get tired of talking about that in in any way, shape, or form because I
Yeah.
get super excited about that. But I was thinking just because I'm always like personal, what am I feeling and what might be helpful? And so I was thinking about what kind of throws me off. Like, how do I be? How am I here? And what does that really mean? And that it almost kind of, sometimes if I look at behind the scenes as a practitioner, people have very, I don't want to say unrealistic, but not accurate ideas of what that means because we're people, we're humans, we're in a bodysuit, and we go to the grocery store just like everybody else.
Hmm.
right?
So can
So
you give an example of some of the false expectations or unrealistic expectations that and this is about practitioners, right? When you interact with I hear you saying when you interact with other practitioners, there seems to be this unrealistic expectation they have for themselves, such as
well, and it's more what people think about me as a practitioner, about what I do and what my habits are or not.
oh, but yeah.
Right? Like,
I
other
can get on board
practitioners,
with that.
I mean, we can all look as crazy as loons because our habits are very unique to us. It's true with everybody, but depending on what you work with energetically or what you do or how you are a practitioner, there are perhaps some things that might get done that don't look normal to people that are not practitioners. So that is true to a certain extent.
Mhm.
So, you know, I love the contrast between you and I. Let me start this way. I love the contrast between you and I because you're kind of I'll just say it and we'll go from there because I don't mean this with any judgment or anything, but you're kind of like anti-practice in a way. You're like, here I am, like don't tell me what I have to do because I am here and nothing is really a limitation in my world, and so is that accurate?
Yeah, it is. I'm so excited about the light we are.
Yeah.
I'm resistant to the need for a practice or a protocol or a system to maintain it and keep it fresh and pure and oh I can't, you can't engage with this or you can't watch that or you can't eat that like we were saying 2 episodes ago,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You have to do all these things in a special way to protect the light you are. And I'm just like, why are you pretending that your light is not durable and not durable in this reality? And so tenuously available to you. It literally annoys me. And I kind of love that I'm annoyed by that because then it motivates me to be super like raw and like real and allowing the light I am in everything.
Mhm.
I don't want it just when I've practiced, when I've done my morning meditation or I didn't get mad yesterday or whatever. That just um, I find a lot of problems with those types of expectations. So I'm constantly wanting to strip it away
Mhm.
and challenge that idea for the sake of our being our light at all moments, in every now.
Mhm. Yes. I'm very passionate about that too. Like that we completely are like, yeah, we're right in sync on that. And for me, what I'm guessing, not that I know what you do on your daily basis, but I probably am more consistent with some of the things that I do, which I call self-care. And we've talked about this a lot. And so we're not exactly on opposite sides of the spectrum on that about what we do or what we don't do. But what I find foundationally for me, there's basic things if I don't do these things consistently, and I'm not married to them, but if I don't do them, my light is not shining how I want it to shine.
There you go. It's a preference. It's not a requirement, but you like it that way. And you've created a system that works for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that from a practitioner perspective can be very varied. And so some people, let's take like declarations or affirmations, right? This is a practice that's been used forever, as far as I know. When I look back on, various existences, there's been a lot of variations about how that's been used
Mm.
in terms of kind of reprogramming the mind, but it's not
Mhm.
just the mind, it's the energetics of how we're existing here and how we use our words and um not allowing the unconscious to take over, right? The unhelpful aspects of the unconscious to take over. The helpful aspects of the unconscious, I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, let's go for it, right? If it's all about connectedness and more light. So, some people, what I know, and sometimes I'll fall into this too, where with affirmations or declarations, I've got recordings that I've made because they help me be in a certain vibration. And when I feel like I've gotten off, And I don't have just one. I've got
Mhm.
a plethora of things that kind of help me feel the light that I am. I can say it
Mhm.
that way. And sometimes it's like, "Ooh, you need to lean heavily on that today." And so some days it's very much about that, and it's much less about doing. It might be listening to those things. It might be literally sitting in my living room. It looks like I'm doing nothing. And the truth of the matter is, I'm this is a weird way to say it, but I'm very busy in my stillness, because it's a non-mind place where there's a lot of things happening kind of in that stillness. And you could call that, you know, 0 point quantum rearranging alchemistic still state, and that I do frequently because I find that if I don't do that, I can really get caught up in a lot of the structure that you're talking about, not wanting to make anything too structured where it denies the organicness of the light that I am now, which is different from 2 seconds ago. And maybe that's kind of the thing to consider here. It's there's I wanna call it an expansive edge where it's an opportunity for growth.
Mhm.
It's an opportunity, you could even say, for deepening.
Mm.
It's an opportunity for me being more of my light. And that probably is one of the most valuable things, and this is as a practitioner, as a human being here. It's finding that thing, whether it's a do or a not do or whatever it is, a creative process that kinda leads me and keeps me on that edge, and there's a bit of uncomfortability with it. And I'll give an example, which I don't know if people get this or not, but, I'm going out of town in about a week. My dad's turning 90, so I'm going back to the place where
Wow.
I was born to celebrate my dad and spend some time with my family. On his 90th birthday, that's an achievement. Not everybody makes it to 90, so I really
That's
wanna be
amazing.
there to honor him for that. So I have a beautiful mini golden doodle, and I have this great dog sitter in Prescott, and because I'm leaving her for an extended period of time, I like to go back there and leave her for a couple nights so she gets reacclimated to the guy, so it's less of a stress for her. Do I need to do that? I don't know, but I think I do now, so I do, right? So, my expansive moment was camping out that night by myself in Prescott, and I was like, "I don't really need to do that. Oh, hang on a second." And there was a little bit of fear almost, because 'cause I've been camping with my dog, which is a great activity for me, just I love to be outside, it's so life-giving, right, for me. And here I was going to a place I hadn't been before, that I hadn't camped at, without my dog, and there was a little bit of just a slight bit of anxiety about it. And I knew that was the thing to kind of counteract any patterns, right? To get me stretched a little bit and be just slightly uncomfortable because it's in a good way, because it's different when I'm not with my dog, right?
Mm.
There's a different level of me being present to solely me and solely without distraction, right? There's a different, not that she's a distraction, but you know what I mean, right? So, so that do you have an equivalent of that, I wanna say? Like, for you, what keeps you kind of stretched? I hear, like, not being too, do the same thing in a structure, right? Like, there's that. But for
Yeah.
you, what would be your equivalent of that? Do you have one?
And definitely. And before though, I wanna say, has the camping out solo without your sweetie already happened, or has it not happened
Yeah,
yet?
yeah, I did, I
How
went.
did it go? When was
It
it?
was it was great. It was a campground I hadn't been to before,
Okay.
and, it was a little uncomfortable. And I love to car camp. I've got a setup in my vehicle to do that. And I wanted to sleep on the ground, right? And so I have a tent. And so I slept in the tent and I hadn't slept, I don't think I've ever slept in this tent. So it's probably been, at least 3 years since I've slept in a tent, which is a whole different experience when I have my back on the earth, right? And look at the stars. And Prescott has beautiful skies when it's not cloudy. And so
Mm.
the landscape when you don't have the rain, cover on your tent
Yeah,
is just incredible.
so
And
good.
so I got what I needed out of that. And there's something where then it's almost like when you go on a long vacation, you come back and there's a reentry. If I hit those expansive moments right, it's like I'm reentering, right? And then I came back to my place, my home, without Gracie here. And that's weird to be in my home without my dog.
Mm.
And so that was another whoa, what's happening in my world?
Yeah.
In a really good way.
So good.
So I'm
So
more me now.
right. Thank you for that example. So the stretching myself, I mean, I'm trying to think of a recent example because I love to do new things. I love to try new things. And I just have to say, the minute you said I haven't slept in that tent before, I'm like, I love you so much. And I do love just to love the differences, to love and acknowledge the differences. I'm like, Janet has more than one tent. And I love that about Janet. I can't even remember the last time I slept in a tent, let alone been in a tent, and I definitely don't have a tent, and I don't have more than one tent. And my kids on the recent vacation that we all took, my husband and them, we had this conversation, something about camping, and I said, I just want you guys to know if you ever felt deprived that you didn't go camping, please know I was constantly like, if you had a friend that looked like a camper type of family camping, I was always like, they might go camping, and if they invite you to go, I really want you to consider it because I'm not taking you camping. And if you want that experience, the world will provide, but I am not that mom,
Right.
and then they're like, no, like I don't want to go camping. I'm like, well, why don't you want to go camping? And V is like bugs, and George is like bees, and then V is like dirt, and I'm like, yeah, I'm that. Me too, me too. So the apple didn't fall far from the tree with those two. So we just don't. But it's not that we don't like being outside. We will be outside, and when we're in McCall, and that's the middle of the central Idaho mountains, and it's such low light pollution that you can see the Milky
Mhm.
Way. I mean,
Right.
it's milky and it is just,
Yeah.
oh, it's just heaven. But I can do that for a few minutes in the middle of the night and be good. I don't need to sleep under it. But I love those that do. And I really like that about you. So, how do I stretch? How do you stretch yourself, Jill? I mean, it's probably simple things. I mean, we used the light rail for the first time when we went to Seattle recently. It's
Mhm.
gotten well honed enough, although there was some criminality involved recently,
Mm.
um, with some unhoused and mental illness and or drugs was involved, and there were stabbings, and anyway, so there is a different level of kind of like, okay, we good. But we took the light rail from SeaTac, the airport, to where we were staying near Pioneer Square, and I just love figuring out public transportation when I'm in London or where I was like, okay, let's stop, and which way do we get on the train, and this way or that way, and when's the end destination. I kind of like that kind of stuff. So sitting on the light rail, and my husband's just overjoyed that we're paying $3 a person versus $90 for an Uber, and he's just gets high on that stuff. He's like, $3 a person. This wasn't so bad. And I'm like, I agree. We did it. We did it. And the kids and I also took it back. When we went back, Jeff flew out early because he had to go on to Montreal. So I'm like, I think we should take the light rail again. Are we good? And V was with us when we took it to the airport or to our hotel. So V was kind of excited about it too, because it's normally V and I kind of navigating public transportation. Anyway, so that was fun. I bought some protein powder the other day. I don't normally do protein powder.
Mm.
Um, but I was like, okay, this is really expensive, but it's a lot of protein in like one 12-ounce glass. And I'm like, okay, that's good. Otherwise, the ways that I like to stretch my light, though, are doing things that I've never done before, tends to be professionally, whether it's a client I've never met with before.
Mm,
Those are constantly stretching me, right? So, and I
mhm,
mentioned about the retreat just a few weeks ago. It's like, okay, we've done a lot of these now. Have we reached the limit of new information? And I just feel that range of me that I call my team going, are you kidding? Like there's always something new that we can talk about, and another way to explain something, and another way to look at something that may not seem as relevant, but the minute we start talking about the Atlantean
mhm,
timeline, it starts to get really relevant to the conflict and things that some are feeling in this reality today. About, well, this is progress and we need everybody on board, and you're not getting on board, so we need to force you to get on board slash incentivize you to get on board. So the thread lines of challenge and opportunity are highly relevant. So there's things like that, but literally with every new client and repeat client, I mean, some of my repeat clients, I've been meeting with them for years. And there is a part of me going, I don't do, are we like, do we have anything new to say? And again, the minute we connect, the minute I start the recording, they're just like, oh, let's, yeah. And it's just right there. So
mm,
to me, I feel like that's constantly a stretch because I'm addressing new beings with new clients that I've never met with before. That's a stretch. Um, Delivering value and offering my giftedness in a useful, mutually enjoyable way to clients I've met with many years is also a stretch. New messages are a stretch. Getting through the loss of my sister and so many of our pets that we've had to say goodbye that we said goodbye to in the last year. All of that's a stretch. Supporting my parents in the loss of my sister is a stretch. So, yeah, it's almost. I mean, it's almost like I want to say, what isn't a stretch?
mm,
And maybe that's just that now that you were talking about it, just lots of stretching. Remember Stretch Armstrong, the toy? It was from like the
mhm,
70s. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wow. There's a lot that was said there. I So one thing I was thinking about is how my stretches kind of happen at the same time.
Mm.
Where I'll be in a situation like when the 32-year relationship that I was in ended.
Did you say
I
32 years?
Yeah, 32 years.
32
I
years.
know.
I think I missed the part that you guys were together that long. That's as long as I've been married. Okay.
Isn't that wild?
Continue. I
Okay.
apologize. Wanted to
So
make sure I heard that correctly.
32-year relationship. Um, so that meant getting out of a house that we'd been in for 25 years together.
Oh my gosh. Hmm.
I was, planning a retreat at that time, and also which had I done one with this woman before? That might have been the first one that we did together. It was during COVID, which added a whole 'nother level of stuff on it, and
Yeah.
then I was supporting somebody else in a retreat. And so it seems like there's this, I wanna say, higher wisdom in if I had to do one of those things at one time, it wouldn't have been a stretch. And so there's like this higher self, higher level wisdom. It's like, nope, we're doing all of them. And
Hmm.
part of me is like, WTF?
Hmm.
Like, can I possibly, and the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
And that happens also with deaths, I find, or
Mm.
sicknesses, or very kind of extreme human experiences that kinda seem to be happening at the most inconvenient time from my human lens,
Mm.
and those seem to be the stretch moment, and so my perspective on that is key to
Mhm.
allowing grace to be present, and
Right.
the other thing I wanted to comment on too was
Yeah.
this about being a practitioner,
Right.
and, when I work with people that I've worked with, like, it's so kind of helpful, I'll say, to
Mhm.
pretend like I've never met them before because they're not who I was when I saw them last. Nobody ever is. So there is that level of newness, and and that's very expansive, right?
Mm.
And then the new people, to really everybody I work with has a different vibe. They're unique in and of themselves. And so the way that my being works is that I kind of tap into who they are as this brilliant, expansive being because I don't know anybody else in any other way. And so it's so cool and is expansive for me to meet somebody new in that capacity to support them in being the light that they are because it might not look like anybody the way I've supported anybody else ever.
Mhm.
So there's that kind of on the one-off appointments or seeing people periodically. And then there's the other thing where it's happened naturally with some clients because they're repeat clients where we kind of build. And it's interesting because I've been considering more long-term building relationships stuff where there's something else happening on a bigger level. It's kind of like it's not the point A to point B, seemingly point A to point B
Mhm.
is bigger or less than,
Mhm.
but it might be that there's things that I know that if I do with people, and this is all discovered kind of in a, initial conversation because it comes in right away, right?
Mhm.
Because I feel like I haven't served people in the capacity that I can because they come in here and the 10 steps are clear to me, and I haven't offered that as clearly or shared that as clearly because we are kind of quantum evolutionary leaping, like we talked about, I think in the last episode. And we wanna skip steps that need or we can skip that are helpful, and then we don't skip the ones that are vital to hang out in.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to be present to those moments, and when you've got somebody sitting here, it's like, "Hey, Jill, can we pause for a moment here?" And you're like, "But I'm gonna crawl out of my skin." "I know. Let's breathe, shall we?" And if we don't do that, we miss the gold sometimes.
Yeah.
So for me personally, those are like considerations, and everybody, whatever business you're in, even if you're running your household and that's your main job, there are ways to apply these different levels of ideas and creativity in that. And that's kind of the challenge or the invitation to, are you just like living your life? Mhm.
Eeyore. The Eeyore energy from Winnie the Pooh,
Yeah.
which some people do. And maybe, maybe they're not booking a session. I have had a client that literally we called it the Eeyore series for him. Engineer and tech, love working with him. It's we complement each other very well. And there is like this brother sister kind of fun banter that we have with each other of kind of joking and laughter amidst some serious expansion and rewiring that happens there. And I love that. It's so fun to hear you talk about your work, Janet, because I share that enthusiasm and it's exciting for us to do that work.
Mm,
Um, and I do encourage people that, I mean, that have met with Janet before, have met with me before, book another session to see exactly what we're talking about.
mhm,
Because there is this transcendence that's always available to us.
mhm,
And it's thrilling to be a part of that as a practitioner. And we have first chair to kind of watch the thrill if you
Mhm.
will, on the receiving end, whether somebody feels stretched to the absolute max or completely idle and stuck and not knowing why anything's moving. Having that perspective of somebody that is expecting your transcendence and your light
Mhm.
is amazing and incredibly supportive in this reality.
Yeah, we're not meant to walk this path alone.
Mm.
We're just not. And that doesn't mean you have a partner either, or even an animal.
Yeah, this
There's
isn't about who's in your household with you. It's just knowing that there are people there in really whatever capacity you'll allow them to be. Even a friend you've never met in person that you love to have, FaceTime calls with every other week or once a quarter, or just knowing they're there and you see them online. I mean, I want this to be easy,
Mhm.
to feel that connection and that nobody is alone, but it can feel like you're alone. And there's a lot of loneliness. There's a lot of feelings of loneliness.
And that I think is the key right here, because when I'm in that, I can't see the options. I can't see the possibilities because I've never, is that true? Been invested in what somebody does.
Mhm.
I'm invested in them kind of redefining or reorganize or making choices that are so like the best thing ever for them,
Yeah.
where they can have that exhilaration of like in that very old movie now, the Titanic, where you're on the front of the bow, right? Just like leaning into the wind, right? And I think that's why I love to go up to the on the mountain here where the hang gliders jump off, and it's like a 10 or 15 foot, that's it, and they launch literally from the top of the mountain. And it's such a spiritual place for me because it's the metaphor of that. There's unknown there. They never know what's happening with the wind. They can look at the windsock, but there's a heck of a lot of unknown. And
The
so there's
windsock
that
is only in one spot.
it's only in one spot
Dead
and,
air when you're doing that kind of work. I mean, I have close friends that do that, and their spouses do that, and they have crazy stories, and they
and
say it
I
with the biggest smile on their
oh
faces.
gosh, and I literally, like, have I only seen that happen once when they're actually there? There were people that were prepping, and I've talked to some of the people because I hike up there. I
Mhm.
go up there quite
Yeah.
frequently. And I'm just like, I cry. It's like sometimes I cry at parades when I don't know why, when I see marching bands and kids just all like,
Oh.
I'm just like, oh, it just touches me. And the same thing when I watch these people, basically it's a form of facing death almost, right? Because your margin for error, can be fairly small. You forget one thing and you're free falling in the air, right? And so there's just that let's go for it kind of feeling that you just sit up there, and as I stand up there on that mountain and look over and it faces Sedona and it's a beautiful top of a mountain, and
Mm.
that freedom and go for it and that expansiveness that's always possible.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you something. When you were talking about cycles earlier, Janet,
Mm,
and like, well, I'm calling it cycles. You were using different words in terms of
mm,
when you
mm,
are feeling stretched, it seems like it might be happening at the worst possible time, I think were your
mm.
exact words. And I'd like to kind of just discuss this. Do you believe that expansion personally, on a personal level, do you believe it happens in cycles? And do you want to believe it happens in cycles where either it is happening or it isn't happening, or it's intense
Mm.
or like non-existent?
Life is so nonlinear for me.
Mhm.
I was like, "What do you mean?" Your part of me is like, "What do you mean cycles?" Like, I do know there's spring, summer, fall, winter. Okay. But in my own life, I might have micro or bigger. I mean, that's the thing that the cycles can be very compressed or they
Yeah.
can be very big. And I almost don't even care. I mean, what I care about is if an in breath is needed, I'm in the in breath, not trying to breathe out during the in breath,
Mm.
right? Like I'm not resisting what the flow feels like.
So let me go back to use your words then, because that, and thank you for that.
Mm.
So when you were discussing earlier that when you're feeling stretched, that sometimes it can feel like it's happening at a time that you wouldn't be or choosing. Do you believe that times of stretching happen at like specific times or at intentionally inopportune times that you wouldn't choose? And do you want that to be true or not?
I think that on a higher level, they happen at times that are so perfectly orchestrated
Mm.
that I couldn't get to where I want to be without being stretched. Does that answer what you're saying? I mean, because I don't. It doesn't matter to me about how I get stretched.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't used to think I would feel a bit victimized in the past. Like if depending on how many
Yeah.
years we have to go back, right? I'd feel like, and sometimes I'll still do this, like, seriously, God, like I'll, in my joking
Yeah.
sort of humorous way, I'll be like, really? And then there's part of me that knows there's so many forces, everything does work for me on some behalf. That is my belief, and you might not agree with me on that, but on the zooming out
Mm-hmm.
lens, I can't claim victimhood on any level. I can't. I was recently going through the us's versus thems and who the theys are, and I was like, there is no they or them, you know? There aren't, and I didn't realize how subtly that was affecting how I was living, and that applies to this too. Like, either you could say either God is or God isn't, either consciousness is or it isn't. Now, is it predictable and are there anomalies, so to speak? Yeah, but I still think that overriding true consciousness of pure source energy is always there. And so there's almost, this isn't exactly accurate, but there's a self-correcting mechanism almost, like even when it always works out on some level. Did it have to happen? Maybe not, but it did. Was it an anomaly or was it planned? I don't even care. But my response to it and how I navigate it is what matters. So, do I want it to be a cycle? Is it a cycle? I almost can't even think that way because the belief I have is so strong in the experience that I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And the faith is so strong in partially myself, right? The God that I am, right?
Thank you for adding that.
You know, like,
Yeah.
like I can't deny that either.
In my preference system, because I get a little bit nitty about words.
Yeah.
Earlier, you said times that I'm getting stretched or I get stretched,
Mhm.
meaning something is stretching you and it's not you.
Mhm.
I get
Mhm.
stretched.
Yes.
And in the about two sentences before that, it can fit or it could be interpreted by some
Yeah.
as there is some larger slash bigger slash more divine or something force that
Yes.
it has the puppet strings and we're the puppet. And that is a very popular, very common notion that
Yes.
spiritual experiencers and spiritual devotees have.
Yes.
I have an opinion about it, but it also can work really well. So I understand its functionality. And then right there, you had another way of bringing it into, but we are all source. And I think you used the word I am source. So
Mhm.
that aspect that we are also source. I And you didn't ask me, but I will. Can I take a turn?
We're having a conversation here, so, we're
That's
having a
right.
conversation.
That's right. Um, I love the idea, and I do believe there's constant stretching in some ways going on. I don't feel like I'm the thing being stretched personally, but I
Mm,
feel like there's just naturally forces, opportunities, challenges, just experiences living that happens here that is naturally stretching.
mhm,
Meaning, we're here, and then there is an experience transpiring. And do you want to meet it at a new level of you? Do you want to grow with it and into it and challenge yourself, right?
mhm,
I could be in a corner in a huddle, like fetal position right now for a lot
mhm,
of reasons, right? But I don't want to.
mhm.
I wanted to meet these various stretching forces in a way, and that's constantly how I kind of play this reality as Jill. What do I want to be in this? What do I want to be with my sister sick? What do I want to be with my sister dying? There's choices in that.
Yeah.
And we've talked about transcendence before, and it's like I love the idea that they're kind of like a skydiver. There's this running off a cliff. I have no idea how to do this. I have never done this before as my Jill, but I know I've got a parachute and I know I've got a safety pack and I know in some ways I can't fail. But there's a wide range of outcomes here. And I can be the one that I don't like being, or I could be the one that I'm like, excellent job. I mean, like, you showed up with a smile on your face. You got a smile out of Chris. You got a smile out of these people you love so much.
Mhm,
If that was the goal, you did it. And if it wasn't the goal, you still did it. And that probably felt pretty good because this is a horrible situation. You know what I mean? So that opportunity to kind of, okay, I not only I can do this, I want to do this and I want to stretch myself. And then there's probably, if somebody were to really stare at my day, lots of things I am doing or not doing in the day where it feels like there's zero stretching. It's just completely just like I am just vibing. I'm not trying to grow. I'm not trying to learn. I'm just like, I have very low expectations of myself and this experience. And I love that because it,
mhm,
it is kind of like a break from some of the other ways that I'm like, ooh, this is serious. Okay, somebody wants to talk to their child that passed in a mediumship session, and I don't know this person. And I've never had formal training in this thing that I do professionally now for years. So, you know what I mean? Is that stretching? Yeah, it is. It totally is. And I don't want it to ever not be stretching
mhm,
because I want to show up on the kind of front of my seat, but also comfortably in my chair. And I know that spirit, I know that God will show up for us. And I promise to do my part in that. And I'm going to support the client in doing their part in that.
yeah. I This is so micro macro, meaning that some days I don't effing wanna do the dishes, and the expansive moment is doing the dishes anyway, right? It can be that small sometimes, and it also can be gigantic, where I do fly off the mountain in a way that I've never with a on a hang glider or whatever way, right? Like, both are true, and that kind of foundational source is beneath my wings always, even in the unknown, even when it seems like I'm suspended in air and floating.
Hmm.
That doesn't mean that that source power is not here. And that is an incredibly expansive moment because one of my old patterns is to move from that level of unknown into the mostly illusion of security, which is what has been known versus what is being created anew. most of the time. So there's so many aspects of this, and it's very, very practical, and the more I can pay attention to that and be in this now moment without being on auto. It's not that auto's not appropriate sometimes, autopilot. If there's, 50 things happening right now and, you know, I think about some of the big events that have happened, when the planes crashed into the, you know, not on 9/11, you know, there was immediate response that was required on many levels,
Yeah.
right? And in that moment, it's more allowing that organicness to take over. Like, I'm just like, "We're doing it," and that's how I roll. And in other moments, it's not like that at all. It's, what's happening right now? Let me just check. Am I forward in a good way or a bad way? Am I leaning in? Am I leaning sideways? Am I intact enough? And there's no booklet to look that up in.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna use the criteria that I might have used yesterday because it might not be applicable. So there's just this presence really in this, how can I be now in this moment, and it's not perfect either, and nor do I want to expect that. But I don't wanna leave this body without having as many appropriately expansive moments where I go for it, whatever that means.
I
Yes.
agree. And I do sense that this is one of the reasons um, that those that do work with us in a one-on-one basis or even in group experiences, they might be a bit like us and they love to hang out with other people that are also like that, like, it's the carpe diem, seize the day type
Mm,
of energy. And
mm,
they also might be the type that they may want to aspire to be more like that.
mm,
And by being around people like that, it
mm,
may inspire more of that energy within them if they are literally intentional about creating and desiring to create new patterns of change and growth and exploration and curiosity about who and what they are. Um, I imagine that there's probably some people listening to this that are like, I feel like I'm like nothing is happening in my life and I don't know why. I definitely would encourage a session with Janet or myself. And I would also point out the fact that that sounds like a lack of curiosity. It really does. There is something new that your mind, body, spirit has never known before, done before, thought before, experienced before, within arm's reach of where you are right now. I
mm,
say that with 100% confidence, right? We live in a world where it's almost like we have the world in our hands in a way, partly with tech, but also you are part of the world here. So that sense of feeling stuck is almost like the train is leaving the station and you're not on it. Babe, you're the train and the station. You can't be left. There is no leaving you. I mean, you're it. So, and I like that kind of foolproof plan that is this reality. I like that part. I like that we designed it this way, all of us,
yeah.
and that we're experiencing it in the super surreal system of the human template. This is wild.
Yeah, it really is, and I will say too, you probably helped inspire this too. I mean, I've done quite a few retreats and I planned one in the spring. I couldn't like I was just like, "Today's the day. Let's go. Let's plan this." And the reason, like you just explained why. When I'm around people that are doing certain things and living in certain ways, that increases my options my level of source consciousness and awareness, and the really, it is about that underlying foundational joy. You
Hmm.
can't tell me everybody doesn't have that in them, because I see it, and it looks differently. Like, some people might look a little, like, curmudgeon-y, but there's still I can find a level of that, what I would equate to joy within them. And sometimes it's just a little crack on their lips and where you can actually see it physically,
Mm,
you know,
yeah.
just a little, and you're like, "Uh-huh, I see that. I know you're pretending it's not there." And that's cool too, right? Like, and I won't even call it out, but thank you, because I feel it, because that's the spark of their source consciousness, and that's what gets to happen when we're in each other's presence in a way that we can't even explain.
I know, and don't have to explain, right?
No.
I'm with you. I know I sense we're wrapping up here. I'm with you that I'm looking for the joy too and the joyful opportunities. And I also, and you and I have had this conversation probably more privately about just clients that
Mm,
find us and, talking shop, that there are some individuals that I don't feel like their
mm,
personal template is as oriented towards joy, but
mm,
it might be oriented towards things like productivity, reliability, their joy looks different than other people's. It may not even involve a smile, but
yeah,
it has an inner sense of job well done. Hmm, 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 just those little nods. You know what I mean? And so I want to respect that
yeah,
because I know when people have an expectation of me of like
yeah,
seriousness amidst my professionalism, they're probably going to be disappointed, or I'm going to convince them that that's not required. I can be hyper professional, whether it's in real estate or the metaphysical giftedness that I share as a service.
yeah,
And maybe even a bit silly, maybe even a little bit quote unquote too playful, but I want it to be fun. I want to have fun doing it. And for me, there is a playful, welcoming nature to it because I have more fun doing it that way. I can be very serious. It's mainly when I'm doing things on my own, though,
mm,
where I'm like, busily on my computer, or really, I don't want to say figuring something out, but um, making progress on something in a very hyper focused or omnifocused way,
mm,
and my family can feel it, and they're not used to that version of my seriousness, so they're like, oh, stay away from mom, and I'm like, whoa, 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 hang on. I would rather you not feel that I'm repelling you. I'm
yeah,
simply focused. It's a different version of my Jill, and I acknowledge that, but there's nothing in here. I'm not mad, I'm not angry. It is a different Jill, but I am so focused on what I'm accomplishing right now. And why, please, it's almost like, why can't that be okay? Or please let that be okay, because this is important work. It's something important I'm trying to figure out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I get a very strong sense of just happiness when I'm with somebody that doesn't have that same version of joy, and I can feel a shift in them, and you could call it soulful satisfaction. I've used that a lot. There's just something where that clicked inside of them where they're just like, they get a like, whatever that is, and I'm tickled when that happens. It's just as exciting to me as people, having the more exuberant type of joy.
Yes. Spectrums of exuberance. Yeah.
Oh,
But nobody, if anyone's in the audience right now thinking, well, I kind of resonate more with the non-exuberant side, you're not doing it wrong. That's totally okay.
no.
It's okay.
It gets honored and celebrated too because that version of you is vital to the whole. It can't not be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
ladybug on the outside of my window,
Oh,
cruising up fast. It's moving quick with its little legs. See, that brings me joy. A ladybug. Easy.
I love ladybugs. I took a picture. I don't know if I posted that one, but, I took a picture of a ladybug, and then I looked, and I think I saw, like, I don't know if they were aphid seeds or whatever, but when I blew
Mm,
it up, because I like to, you can't get close enough, the focus doesn't work on my camera, so but
okay.
so when I blew it up, I was like, "Oh my god, look what I got in this picture." It's like a whole microsystem, you
I
know?
love it.
Oh, it's great. Oh, thank you so much, Jill. And thanks everybody for listening, commenting, liking, sharing. Please share this with people. There's the what we hold energetically and what we offer people can be so powerful. And my hope is that as many people as possible get to experience that.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks for liking, like you said, and sharing and commenting. We love it. Thank you
Me
so much.
too.
Thank you so much, Janet, for
All right.
being
Bye.
with me today.
Yeah, same.
Good to be with you.
Bye.